Why don't we let it grow? Why don't we let it? Why don't we let it grow, 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 grow? It grows stronger for every day. We just can't keep it away. Grow, 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 grow. It grows stronger for every day. We just can't keep it away.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, Lakea. As our past president, Ms. Paulina Gimrikowo would state, I want to welcome you all to our Black History Month lunchtime conversation. Now, this is the first time that we're doing something like this. We've done lunchtime conversation, lunch and learns before, but we've never done it for Black History Month. So you are in store for some great things today. For those of you that do not know me, I am Dolores Ellis Gann. I am your president, and what you will be hearing, who you will be hearing from today is our very own Vice President, Miss Tina Robinson. Before we start, I did want to give you a couple of opportunities. Go ahead and share that link. Share that link. It's a direct link to today's program. And if someone has that link, they can join us next Wednesday without even registering. We're going to be here today. So please, please, please go ahead and share that link. Share that link via text. Somebody may want to join us. I do want to say thank you and for supporting us. I see Miss Carla Williams there. Everyone know who she is. And I also see that our very own Lesbia Ross, who's now retired, is joining us today as well. So as we have folks coming on into the room, I want you to enjoy yourself today, learn, and then give us your feedback. Let us know what you thought about Lakea's very first Black History Month lunch conversations. You're now in the hands of our very own Miss Tina Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam President. As you come in the room, put which department you are from. We appreciate that. And I am so happy to have you all here today. As you know, this year's Black History theme is African American and the arts. So my question to you all is architecture a form of art? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Do you think architecture is a form of art?
Absolutely.
Erica McElroy, I see your hand. Do you think architecture is a form of art?
Did you see my hand? Actually, it is a form of art, but when I think of art, architecture is not at the forefront of my mind. I actually think about like paintings or sculptures, even though I can understand like the architectures, like the integrity of the building and things like that. It's just not what pops into my head when I think about art.
Yeah, I know it doesn't like seem like it, but when I think of art, I like think of a house, architecture. And I was like, you know what? It's all how you want your house to be built. Some houses are small, some are big, some are oblong, all these different ways of architecture. So that's why I thought let's do something a little different today and let's talk about
Miss Tina,
architecture. Yes.
Missy, what I think about, because I'm a singer, I think
Okay.
about music. I think about dance and forms of art that way.
You know what? There is so many forms of art, especially with the African American. So I appreciate this theme this year for African American and the arts, that it's broad and we can go so many different ways with art. So I really appreciate. Anyone else want to chime in on, do they think architecture is art or?
I'll chime in.
Okay.
I do think it's art and I love it. I remember when my daughter was in elementary school and there was a teacher who asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was an engineer. And she said, I want to be an artist. He said, great, you can be an architect. And so it was just that mindset that he was already turning her to think differently. And as she went through middle school, I would, show her houses and she would tell me, why would I buy that house? I'm going to design my own. But he began to plant that art was architecture.
That's true. That's true. My grandson, I have a 12-year-old, and he wants to be an architect slash engineer. And so he's always saying, Gigi, I'm going to build you this house that's going to have all this connection and railroads and all this stuff, all this stuff. He has a good imagination. I'm like, that's going to be a nice, it's going to be a nice
Yes.
home that we're going to have. So, you know, he builds Legos and all of these things, put it in their mind. So today, I wanted to highlight two African-American architects from the Los Angeles area. So next slide, please. So this one says, who am I? This is Norma Merrick Sklaric, and she was the first African-American female to be licensed as an architect in California in 1966. So as you all know, there's not that many female architects, period, not just in California, but period, there's not that many architects. So for her in 1966 to be the first African-American female, kudos to her to becoming a licensed architect in 66. And amongst, do you guys know any of her projects? Maybe you could put it in the chat, or you can come off mute before I show the picture next, what she did. Well, you're going to be amazed because all of you guys have
What about
probably
City
been.
Hall? City Hall?
No, not City Hall, but you're going to be amazed that you're going to be like, you know what? I've been through this building before. I walk through here at least once, maybe once a year, or I've traveled around this building.
Those were great hints. Anyone?
There it is, LAX. She designed the passenger terminal number 1 at LAX. Now, and that is amazing. We have to give her kudos right there for designing passenger terminal 1, which houses Southwest Airlines. And I know y'all go on Southwest Airlines for the 2 pieces of luggage you get to take, if nothing else. And you get to pick your seat, you're not assigned. So all of these reasons, we should be thankful to Miss Norma Sklaric for helping to design terminal number 1 at LAX. So she's paved the way for us today. Next slide, please.
Tina, thank you for sharing that, because I think now when I go to Southwest, I'll have a little bit more strut knowing that it was one of us. Thank
You
you
will.
for sharing that. Never knew. Did
guess-
anyone else know that before today? Let's use
No.
our reaction keys. Come off mute if you want. This is supposed to be conversations, you
Yeah, come
all.
on, it's
I
lunchtime.
no, I did not know that. But that was some great information.
And guess what? It's terminal number 1. So we're first, African Americans, first terminal when you enter LAX.
Well, that's
Number
what I was
1.
going to say. I said, well, no wonder they put Southwest in terminal number 1.
There's always a method to our madness. There's always a method to our madness. We're not going to be last. We're going to be 1, right? Like Lakeia, number 1. Okay. Number 1 right here. I don't know if you all know him, but I want you to maybe make some comments who you think he may be. A nice looking young man, who you think he is, but he is an architect from Los Angeles. He born and raised. Or you can come off mute and say, you know.
Maybe is it Paul Revere Williams?
Oh, that was perfect. Who said that?
Carla.
That was perfect, Miss Carla. That is Paul Revere Williams. Paul R. Williams was born in 1894. Fortunately, he passed away in 1980. He was 86 years old. He studied architectural engineering at USC. Go Trojans. He graduated with a degree in 1923. And he became the first African-American member of the American Institute of Architects, the AIA, in 1957. And I looked back at the AIA in 2017, there was only 2% of African Americans that are still even in that association. So that tells us 1957, even to now, we have a long way to go. We've come a long ways, but we still have a long way to go. To only be 2%, it may be 3% now, but still, that's a long way for African Americans and architects. He was married. He has 3 children. But the other thing about him was his parents died when he was 2 years old. His father died of tuberculosis, I believe, and his mom died 2 years later. And then he was raised in foster care with his brother. And he attended schools in Los Angeles. And he was the only African American in his school in LA. I mean, so he's been always like a pioneer in doing things. He's always, been a really big pioneer. He lived, and his house is still currently on 1271 West 35th Street in the West LA area. 1271 West 35th Street, Los Angeles, 9007. You guys could drive by there because someone purchased it, and the LA Conservancy are helping to restore it because of the great impact that he had on architect in the Los Angeles area. So again, if you're ever in the area of 35th Street in LA, 1271, I think it would be great to take a tour to see some of the things that Paul R. Williams did. And and also he said when he was in school, his dream was to be an architect, and his teachers told him that that would be difficult to, in the white community and to get business, and in the Black community, it probably would not provide enough work for him to make a living. But he persevered, and so sometimes teachers can discourage you, and sometimes they can encourage you. But whatever your dream is, I believe you should follow your dream if that's it. Again, like my grandson said, he's want to be an architect. I'm gonna push it no matter what. If whatever school he want to go to, if it's Harvard, if it's USC, if it's UCLA, if it's wherever, I'm just gonna pursue it. And I think we need to. Our children are our future. They are our legacy. So we need to, help them push their dreams. Especially, I mean, we've come a long way, like I said, but we have a really long way to go. And so now I'm gonna play a short video.
Before we do
Okay, go
that,
ahead.
I would love for us to get some feedback on that long way we've come and where we're going to go and how we're going to get there and what we should be doing. I would like to hear the thoughts of those members or those that have joined us today. Do we got a long way to go? Do we?
We do. We got a long way to go.
And what do you guys think we should be doing to get there?
Hi, everyone. This is Anika. I mean, we have a long way to go in terms of what, like, who are we competing with to catch up with, would be my question.
Well, Alika, I would say, just like, for example, there's only 2% African Americans in that American Institute of Architects. We should be at least 50% in there by now. I mean, not 2% in 2017. To me, that tells us we have a long way to go to get there as far as that. But you can. There's so many things. We have a long way to go. You can look at work, working in the Los Angeles County. We've come a long way, but there's still. I know we have. Right now, we have 5 members of the board of supervisors, all female. So that we've come a long way from just having all men. So yes, we have, but we still, have a long way to go, in my opinion.
Anyone else have thoughts on that?
What comes to mind for me is resources. It was funny because I was talking with my aunt last night. She's a senior citizen. She's 85. She lives at home. And she was sharing with me that she got notification that they're going to disconnect all landlines. And I told her, and I says, I bet you it's going to be, in the urban community first. I said, it's unfortunate when things happen, we're always the guinea pig, or when things happen, we're the last to know. So I really think it's all about resources, especially for our kids. We lack resources in the education field. Families lack resources. I think we need to do a lot more outreach, reach one, teach one. That's very important. Mentoring is also important. I think we lack in that area because when I get mine, I keep mine, right? That's a lot of the mentality that some of us have. So I think that, there's definitely a gap there and room for growth.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Great. Great thoughts. Daryl, is your hand up?
Yes, I had one thought on that. I think we've come a long way. We just can't get into the lie that we've arrived. I think a lot of people tell us, we got rights now, we got this and we got that. We got to make sure we are continuously striving to get what is owed to us, not only what is owed to us, but the things that we should have, the discrimination, jobs, or whatever. We can't fall into the lie that we have arrived, or that everybody tells us, now that Jim Crow or whatever is over, that you guys are doing good now. They're doing okay, but we can't give into that lie that we have arrived and continue to fight.
Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? This is supposed to be conversation, y'all. Lunchtime conversation. So you're in a safe space to share your thoughts. And anyone else?
No, I can't open.
Is that maybe okay? She probably just haven't muted herself.
Did you?
Isha, did you want to share anything or? Okay, she's probably just not muted.
Okay, well, we're going to play a short video. Go ahead next. Thank you. Because Paul R. Williams was known as the architect to Black Hollywood, to the Hollywood stars.
The Academy Award ceremonies at the Pantages Theater.
Once Hollywood discovered Paul Williams, he acquired a nickname, Architect to the Stars.
Tyrone Power, Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, Cary Grant, Barbara Stanwyck.
All the movie stars had Paul Williams houses. They're the most unique homes in the city.
The unique style of a Paul Williams home made such an impression that some clients recall them even after they've moved on to other houses.
We had a wonderful life there, and we later learned William Holden lived there. All of the who's who of Hollywood at that time had frequented that house.
Tonight, Frank is seeing his finished two-bedroom Japanese modern house for the first time. How are you, Ed? Good.
One commission brought Williams the national exposure most architects can only dream of.
Well, this is the combination dressing room, Ed, and bedroom with my unique-looking fireplace with the Chinese red. I'm sorry you can't see the color.
Frank Sinatra has, in a sense, come to Williams to find out how do you live like a movie star.
He understood the value of having your dream home. And I think that's why so many people went to him, particularly movie stars and people in the movie industry, which is so much about fantasy and sets and, you know, being able to have whatever you want.
Unlike a Frank Lloyd Wright who designed something brilliant and you bought into it or not, he believed it was important to listen to his client, and his value as an architect was determined by his ability to please that client.
As an African-American architect in the 20th century, he did not have the luxury of telling clients my way or the highway.
He would ask them questions about how they lived. Are you the type of person who entertains frequently, who needs a room for your housekeeper as well as your mother-in-law?
People moved from Los Angeles, from all sorts of other places, and I think they wanted to import a little bit of where they were from and what they associated with. And he was so adept at so many different styles of architecture. Great Tudor houses, great Spanish houses, great Monterey Colonials, great Georgians. I mean, he did them all.
Wow, that was great. That was great. Did you guys see any information that stood out to you regarding his homes that he built? Or did you already know all these great things about Paul R. Williams?
No, I didn't, but I think it was very important that he listened to his clients. You know, I think that's important in anything that we do for others. It showed definitely a heart, customer service, and I think to serve others, that's a servant heart, is to make sure that you know what they want and not push off what you just want on them because you think this is nice, but he asked of them, and he also allowed them to kind of intermingle where they came from into those homes to make it really feel like a home and not a house. So that was very important. I really appreciate learning that about him, and that shows that character of him. That's something, character is very important, and that shows a great character that he exemplified in his work. And, you know, so if he was like that at work, I can't even imagine how great he was at home.
Right, exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I'd loved seeing one of the great winding staircases. I think he was known a lot for his wonderful staircases and then also his ceilings, always very different, amazing ceilings.
Yeah, very forward thinking. Even back then, I hadn't heard of him until I started doing a lot of research, and now I'm like, wow, this is great. This is really great. So, and some of you all have probably been in some of his buildings and maybe didn't even know you were there. Some of you may, as county employees, may even work there. So the next slide will show one of his buildings, Kenneth Hahn Hall of Administration. This is one of Paul R. Williams' designs and architectural masterpieces. And a lot of us have been through this hall and walked through it and walked to the mall and to the Starbucks behind it. We done a lot. We done been in the board hearing room and not even knowing, right? Not even knowing, yeah, sang here. I know Tara has did the national anthem here, and not even knowing all like the history behind this particular building. So did you all know that, or is this good to know? Now when you're there, I want you guys to look around and be like, Paul R. Williams, he did this.
So, now that we're having this transparent conversation, why is there no honor of him anywhere, or plaque or statue to give him accolades of this? I mean, this is huge.
Oh, I am so happy that you mentioned that, because that is one of the things that I have been asking, but couldn't confirm for sure if there is nothing in that building that actually reverenced him. I know the County of Los Angeles, the board has been doing a lot of great work, and they're doing a lot of upgrades, but I'm not sure if that's on their to-do list. So I was going to reach out to see, because I did even see that they did a new plaque where it talked about every city when they was actually incorporated. They've added the county seal at the back of the hall, and the hearing room, and it gives an explanation of that, the county flag. So they're doing a lot of work, and and they're upgrading of the Hall of Administration. So that was the next question. What about him? But I want to check, because we got to get our receipts before we go ask and say it ain't here. And then they'd be like, can you come over to the third floor over here? It's a cornerstone to him. So yeah, but that is great, Letitia.
Yeah, that's a great question. The other thing that is typically on most buildings, and I knew he had designed the hall, but I never looked around. But in any building you go to, there's usually some sort of sign that talks about the construction company that built it, the architect, and some of the other like founding people. And it's usually some little small plaque on a building somewhere on the outside. So I don't know if anyone has done a tour around the hall to just try to see, because it's 4 sides to it, to just try to see, just based on regular construction, whether that's anywhere on there. I don't know.
I will check Friday.
Okay, I'm writing it down as an action
because
item.
when you guys say what I'm talking about, almost any building you go to,
Yes.
it said built this year, this construction company, this architect, or this builder, and it's usually on a building. Not even with things
I wonder if anyone stole it.
They're usually pretty cemented in there when they build it, but I don't know. There's 4 sides.
Yes,
that was an inside joke.
Letitia, let us know if you find anything. And for those of you that may work at the hall, if you could kind of let us know if you hear anything. But it'll be great today, especially during our Black History Month, where we uplift these experiences and these historical facts. If we could share it, if you work in the hall, share it with someone who actually was the designer. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I appreciate that.
If we find that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If we find that there isn't anything that's like it can be seen, that's out, like she said, usually it's outside, a plaque or something where you can see it. If we find out that there isn't anything even on the outside where you can be seen, maybe we can look into seeing, I know it is the county building now, but look into seeing if look here, we could do some fundraiser or something to get a small plaque to say something to it. That would be great.
That'd be a beautiful thing. So that'd be a beautiful thing, Madam Vice President. So we'll put that as an action item for us to have a discussion with your board. We have to, maybe you and Letitia could, could take a look.
Letitia, yes.
Letitia, I'm sorry.
Letitia, look,
Yeah,
send me your
so
email,
maybe you
Letitia.
guys can talk offline and let's do that.
Yes.
Tina,
Yes,
keep
put
us
your
on schedule.
yes, put your information in the chat, Tara and Letitia. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go by that building also on Monday. It's my RDO. I'm gonna make it a point to go by and walk around and look and see what I can find with that also. Next slide, please.
Before we go next, when you take that picture in front of that building, hashtag Lakea and actually send us a picture. We would love to post pictures of you and anyone else at that building, at that hall, especially during Black History Month on our social media platforms. Hashtag Lakea, and then send that picture over to the president at lakea.org, and we could highlight you this Black History Month. Thank
Yes,
you,
very good.
Tina.
Thank you. And also follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you, Madam President. So next I have these pictures here, and I want to know if you can name these buildings. Come off mute. That first building, if you know what it is, shout it out.
Is that Fame?
That is. That
Okay.
is. That is. And the second one, anybody?
But what does FAME stand for?
Right.
First African Methodist Episcopal.
Very good.
Yes.
Very, very
And,
good.
and the second
Somebody
one is
said
that the
projects.
Nickerson. No, is that the Nickerson Gardens?
That is the Nickerson
That's what I
Gardens.
said, yeah.
It's the Nickerson Gardens. Do you know where it's located?
Yes, it is on Imperial and Century. No,
Central.
Compton Central.
Main.
Central. Yeah.
Ooh, they
Yes.
look both
Central.
In
Central.
that area, yes. And that
Yeah.
third picture, it kind of gives it away, but you can see what it is.
YMC 28th Street. I went to camp there. Woo!
Yes, and it's a very historic YMCA there. It's very historic. It's in the historic district. It's been named as a monumental historic landmark in that area. So it's very nice. And also this last picture, a lot of you guys may work in this building or you walked through or had to do some paperwork here. This is the, let me hear you, drum roll.
Stanley Moss.
Stanley Moss.
Courthouse. Yes, this is
Yes.
the courthouse,
Sounds-
downtown LA,
courthouse.
111 North Hill. I know our department, child support, we file a lot of paperwork there. So we're familiar with the Stanley Moss Courthouse and FAME. We're familiar with that as well, just as African Americans. You know, they have a lot of, when the president comes in town, they usually go to that church and things like that. So
And the
this-
Nickerson Gardens.
and well, yeah, Nickerson Gardens, they're Watts, right? We have to represent. We're all here. So these are all designs by Paul R. Williams. He didn't just stay over in Beverly Hills and Hollywood. He made his rounds. So he was really helping to do a lot of things in our community. So I'm really glad to highlight Paul R. Williams this Black History Month. You know, I know we highlight other people all the time, but I am so excited because I'm going to just start looking on buildings like, was this Paul R. Williams? Did he do this? Did he do that? So that's my goal, and to take my grandkids and around to see different things, maybe make a tour of Paul R. Williams buildings.
Yeah, you could do-
Next slide, please.
Wait, before we go to the
Okay.
next slide, Miss Carla.
What I was going to say was that he was able to, the reason why you'll notice as you continue with a lot of the buildings he built, was able to do some of these is because of government contracting. And so sometimes we were only able to get jobs and some of the roles outside of the stars because as a minority, he was allowed to bid on some of the government contracts. So that was a benefit for us. And a lot of our small businesses shouldn't be afraid of responding to some of the RFPs and even if you start out with a small contract with the county or the federal government.
Right, that's true.
Thank
That's
you
good.
for sharing that. One of the things I think, and then we had thought about it, it was a recommendation from the co-chair of our membership committee that we have a Lakea Black History scavenger hunt where we ask members to go to these type of location, take pictures of themselves and hashtag us and things of that nature. So if you are in the area of 28th and Central, it's the YMCA is still there. And when you go there, I am going to ask you to put yourself in a position where you can look at the top of the building. Look at the top of the building. Why? Because Paul R. Williams did something that is just unique with this particular building. He put a bust, y'all know what those are, at the top column on either side of the building. So on one side of the building, you have the face of Frederick Douglass, and on the other side of the building, at the very top, is Booker T. Washington. Now, these men had two totally different ideologies of the way that we actually approach our history, our success, our trajectory in careers and things of that nature. One was like, pull up your bootstrap, get it ourselves, right? We all know about Booker T. And then many of us know about the abolitionist work of Frederick Douglass. But when you take your grandson there, don't just drive by, look at the top of the building. Their faces are there. This is our history. Thank you.
And also at First AME, Paul Revere Williams, he was married there in 1917 to his wife. So that's a
Beautiful.
fun fact. Next slide, please. And these are some other notable places that Paul R. Williams designed and had some input into. And I have a trivia question for the Angelus Funeral Home. It says originally it was on 1010 East Jefferson. Do anyone, you can put in the chat, know where that funeral home is located today? Sure y'all do.
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw, right? By
Crenshaw.
the Plaza.
And Coliseum.
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw
Yeah, Crenshaw
Very
Coliseum.
good, very
I,
good, very
I
good.
sing there all the time.
Very good. And also you see Nickerson Gardens. And I think earlier someone answered the question that it was on Central and Imperial. So if you're off the 105, you get off on Central, you make
I
that
get a
left.
picture.
Make that left or right. It's by Hawkins Burgers, right in that same area. You can get you a burger, take a picture of Nickerson Gardens all at the same time. So this is some great information and some places that he did. Baldwin Hills Mall, the original anchor stores. He had some input in that. Again, like I said, the courthouse, Second Baptist Church, Shrine Auditorium. He even opened his own firm in his early days because he knew he couldn't work for anyone else. So he opened up his own firm back then. So I think he has really did a great contribution to our community and to our culture. So I really appreciate him. Next slide, please. And now, do anyone know where this building, this is a plaque that was dedicated to him in his memory. Do you know where this is today? And you can come off the chat and let me know if you know. And maybe one day you can go by there as well and take a photo. Don't be shy, just make your answers.
Is it by the Black History Museum? The museum, what do you call it? TAMS? Is it over there by USC?
Kind of, but no, not really. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I went over there. I just don't remember where I've seen that. I went there. My daughter.
And it's really nice that they played memory to him at this location because he helped build their building. I can't see the chat, Dolores. So is there any, or if anyone has their hand up to make a guess?
I don't see anyone with the hand up or responding to that have responded to that
He should
question.
said it's on Crenshaw, right? Or is that what a previous one?
That was
That
a previous.
one.
That was
No,
for Angela's.
But this here is at the Golden State Mutual Life Insurance
Oh,
Building.
that's right. Just like I visited it, but I forgot.
It's
Right.
1999 West Adams. Again, they put a memorial there for him. So you can always go by there. It's on Western and Adams and check this out. So this is really, really nice as well. And as you can see, they have pictures like the person, I think Letitia was saying, usually a person put a plaque and say who was the architect and things like that. So they did give honor to Paul Williams for doing their building. So I really appreciate that as well.
That's on the Adams side?
It's on Western. It's on
it
the corner
on the
of
Western side?
Western and Adams.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to
It's
figure
in
out.
the
I
inside.
never
It's
noticed.
in the
Oh,
ins,
okay.
it's in
I
the
said, I never
inside.
noticed
So
this.
between
Okay.
the parking structure and now, so Golden State Mutual, everyone know the story about those three insurance men
Mhm.
and how they started, right? And
Right.
so that building has went through a couple of hands, but now RCRC, one of the regional centers, actually operated. So
Mhm.
when they have activities there, their parking structure, as you know, is on the western side, but you enter on that little back street. I can't think of the name. I think it's Hobart. But anyway, when you're walking from the parking structure to enter into Golden State Mutual building, that's where you'll see this. So you would have to park in the parking structure and then exit it, go like you're going towards the building to enter, and you'll see this memorial to him.
Do you have just a quick second to share some light about the three founders of the Golden Mutual building? I don't know the history to that.
We can. So the three men, one of them is Sam Houston. I can't think of the other two guys, gentlemen's
Beavers
name.
and Matthews. Beavers and Matthews were the other.
Beavers and Matthews. So many are aware that life insurance is a thing that, you know, we have an insurance agent. My daughter and them are into it. My daughter is an insurance broker into insurance as well. But as you may know, years ago, African Americans could not secure life insurance policies. And these three men actually insured a lot of our community. And then they built that building. They became very successful. Now, the question would be, why did they put it there? Everybody wanted to know, why would they build their business or their building there on the corner of Western and Adams? And many are now learning that this used to be Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill, yeah.
It was Sugar Hill. So there were times where there were a lot of tours where folks would go by First AME. They would go and tour the famous home of Lena Horne. A lot of notable African Americans lived in that community because we did have our own Sugar Hill here in LA. Unfortunately, Santa Monica Freeway destroyed that dream. And so so those three men were we could do some, come back and do more about that, but that's high level of who they were. And unfortunately that building went through a lot, and now it is in the hands of SCRC or something of that nature. But if you ever get a chance to go inside, there are murals painted by Black artists all over the walls. It is an amazing facility to visit. You'll walk out feeling enriched and proud for those folks to have accomplished the things that they did in the times in which they did. Makes us know that there is nothing we cannot do.
Right.
So
Thank
it
you.
is, we'll go back.
That's good,
Yeah.
Madam President. That means we have a tour coming up. We have Black History Month is all month, but we're Black all year. So we got some things we can do to go see. I'm gonna make it a point to go see that as well. It's a lot of great history here in Los Angeles area. Thank you. Next slide, please. So William, as you guys can see, he had remarked that the fact that most of the homes he designed and whose construction he oversaw, there were places where our people couldn't even buy them. So that was one of his quotes right there that you can see that, you know, he was building places that we couldn't even live. So I think that was very phenomenal of him to say that, you know, at least he knew that. So I think I have a quick video next. And I'm glad, I hope you guys are enjoying this today and we're getting some great information and education, lunchtime conversations for Black History Month. I appreciate, again, all of you coming out, you know, joining us on your lunchtime and taking the time out at your lunch to, you know, to get information regarding Paul R. Williams. So there we go.
Paul Williams was one of the most gifted architects of the 20th century.
His legacy of buildings is so wide-ranging.
the first African-American architect to have a major crossover appeal to a white clientele.
He was building homes in neighborhoods that did not allow blacks to move into those neighborhoods.
Your brother had to go through all he had to go through then. He said, nothing's going to stop me.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, isn't that amazing? Nothing was going to stop him. And that's the attitude we have to have. Nothing's going to stop us. Nothing's going to stop me now. Wish I could sing. But anyway, I think that was just phenomenal. And I'm going to play one quick short, another video. It's only a minute and 50 seconds.
Making the most of every possibility, young Paul excelled in the city's predominantly white schools. And he got a part-time job as a newsboy selling papers in downtown Los Angeles.
He was a hard worker, and I believe for a lot of reasons. He wanted to please his foster mother. And I'm sure, those days all the kids had to bring some money in.
In 1908, Williams entered the highly selective Los Angeles Polytechnic High School. When he expressed an interest in architecture as a career, he came up against what he would later call the blank wall of discouragement.
He looked at me as if I had suggested a rocket trip to Mars and exclaimed, "Who ever heard of a Negro architect?"
He had a teacher who very clearly told him, you cannot be an architect because your people will not be able to afford you and white people will not hire you. Be a doctor or a lawyer because your people will always need those.
Williams ignored this advice. After graduation in 1912, he set about acquiring the skills he needed to pursue his dream.
There was nobody that he could look to and model himself after. There was really no template.
At that time in California, there were about 5 ways to become an architect. One could work for an architect as an apprentice. One could get a university degree. One could get a correspondence school degree. One could work for a contractor. One could do interiors by doing furniture. I've never found a white architect who used more than 1 or 2. Williams is using all 5 paths, and I think he's trying each path in sequence because he's running into obstacles, he's running into discrimination. And in that sense, it's self-directed because no one has told him what to do. He's figuring it out for himself.
Thank you. That was awesome. And I'm hoping you guys got a lot out of that as well. One of the quotes that I like that he said is, "If I allow the fact that I am a Negro to checkmate my will to do, now I will inevitably form the habit of being defeated." And I took that quote to heart. If I allow the fact, that I'm a Negro or Black to checkmate me, then I'm defeated. So I'm never gonna allow that. So I hope, I think, is there another slide next? I think that's it. I want to thank you for coming today for our first virtual conversation on art and architecture. But we have a lot coming up. Next week, we're going to have one on healing on the 14th, and that will be at the same time at 12:30. And then the following week, we're going to have our virtual Crystal Eagle Award at 7:30 p.m. That's on the 22nd. And also that 23rd, we will have our gala, our Black History Gala going on. So since we have a little time left, we have some trivia here. But if you're not a member, if you just joined us, you can always go to lakea.org to become a member. Follow us on our social media platforms. We appreciate you. So now we're going to have a little trivia and turn it over to Madam President.
Before we do that, I want you to please give a round of applause to Tina and her team for putting together this amazing programming for us today. I'm hoping that we all walked away with a little bit more insight to how architecture aligns with the theme of the Black History Month programming for 2024. That's a national theme. As you all know, Lakea adopts the national theme of Black history, have been doing so since 2003. It is part of our legacy. So before we actually end, we have a couple of more minutes. And before we go to the trivia, I just want to open up the floor for your thoughts. Any thoughts about what you've seen here today? Hello? Any thoughts?
Thoughts, comments?
Something was mentioned earlier regarding how we arrived or that we haven't arrived and there's a lot of work for us to do. Growing up as one of the few Black girls in my Excel programs and honors programs at school, a lot of the history that we see today and the platforms that we have to be able to search our history was not prevalent. I didn't know anything about Paul Williams growing up. And I believe that's one of the reasons we have to do our due diligence in educating our youth that there are things that they're capable of doing that we had no knowledge of. If I knew Paul, there was an architect, architecture that or architect, sorry, that was profound in our city. Who knows what I would have been? You know, we were taught to be doctors and lawyers, but not all of us were capable of being that. There are some of our young people are growing up that were great drawers. I had amazing, talented friends in elementary school and high school that were really great artists. And not to know that there was already a path that was already created for us. So I think that we have a responsibility to do our research and to educate our young people on whatever it is that they want to discover and who they want to be.
Thank you for that. Thank you. We do have that responsibility. And as many of you are aware, Lakia has adopted a school that is 85% African American. Believe it or not, there is a school still 85% African American in this great county of Los Angeles. And that school is 74th Street Elementary School. It's a magnet school. So we will be calling upon you and some of you all to help us out with the things that we are planning to do for that elementary school. And
Can
we
you
will.
I would
Yeah.
love to help. I graduated from 74th Street School, so I did not know that. That's amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we will. Here's our first trivia. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Someone would like to read it? The question?
Which African American author wrote the novel Beloved? And our choices are Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, or Zora Neale Hurston.
Toni Morrison.
Yep. Absolutely.
Perfect. And I don't know if many of you are aware that Lakia did launch a book club. We've launched our very first book club, and we hope that you will join us. Our book that we are reading is Leveling Up, A Journey to Leadership. Don't have the title all together, but we'll get that to you. We're reading the book that was released by our executive advisor and 2024 Crystal Eagle Award, Cynthia McCoy Miller. We will get that book out and we will be having discussions related to that book. So if you're interested in joining our book club, please feel free to contact our membership chair, just send your name and we'll get you that information. The next book we'll be reading will be Pushing Through, and that is by our very own Nicole D. Vick. So Lakia's book club is going to be a little unique. We are starting with authors that are members. We're reading our members' books first. Here's our second trivia question. Tina?
Yes. Who is often referred to as the father of Black history for his pioneering efforts in African American history education? The answers are W.E.B. Du Bois, Carter G. Woodson, Booker T. Washington, or Frederick Douglass?
Carter G. Woodson.
And who did that answer come from?
Oh, I did. Carla.
Perfect. Got one more for you. We thank you for giving up your lunch hour to be
Yes.
here with us today.
We really appreciate it. Which African American author wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X? Alex Haley, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, or Malcolm X?
Alex Haley.
Great answer. So sounds like we need to get harder questions for our next trivia. We'll leave it there, but want to open up again the floor for anyone to give any feedback on what you heard today. What did you think about today's lunch conversation? Would you like to see more of these type of conversations outside of Black History Month? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Please share with us. No one has.
I think thanks Tina and others for helping plan this today. Tina for facilitating and presenting. You know, for me, Madam President, I think for sure opportunities outside of Black History Month. I think we get the month, and it is so important to be able to learn together and to spend time in community together. And so I welcome this time throughout the year. And what I would offer is, I just think like what we just learned in this, you know, the last few minutes is, for me, the call out is the importance of continuing the legacy of the people that built, like sort of paved the way for us, or for me, and really thinking about how to have that continuous impact, not, you know, sharing the history and not forgetting about that, and how we have what we have today because of those that forged the way for us, and then how we continue to optimize that. And so that was just something that resonated with me today from what was shared.
Beautiful. Anyone else? Thank you so much. No one else?
I think we need a Black History tour of Los Angeles.
I'm sorry?
We should get like a tour bus. And
Agreed.
Zadora, you have a lot of history, I know, in your head, and that you could be our facilitator, taking us around. Even we walked on during Black History Month in the Martin Luther King parade, and just walking up Crenshaw and King Boulevard. There was a lot of history there with the bail bondsman building, and Delora was explaining to us where, I forgot his name, but where the bail bonds place was there. King, what was his name? I forgot, but anyway. Celeste King. And that building, you wouldn't even know it used to be a bail bonds office. And it's like, we need to invest back in our community and our history. So yes, I think there is work for us as Lakeia, us as people, us as just individuals to keep the legacy going.
Beautiful. Well, again, thank you all for actually coming here and being here today with us. We hope to see you here next Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye. Good job, Tina.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.